Okay, hello everyone. Alright, so in the last video we started talking about characters, right? In this video I just wanted to point out that there's a very close relationship between characters and integers, right? And you'll be surprised actually. And it may be a bit confusing, but I wanted to point it out so you know at least what it is. And so in the last video we declared a variable of type char, right? Okay, char, and then we called it my first character. Let's call this one my second character. Actually, let's just say my second char. Okay. Right now, let's initialize it with a value. We know characters or char variables can only store. Let's say char actually. Let's say char. Actually, let's say so char variables can store. They don't go in single quotations, because as soon as they go in single quotations, they become a string. They have to be wrapped around single quotations, and they can store only one value of, let's say, the character f, right? And then we can go ahead and system.out.println what's stored in my second char. Compile this and run it, and we see that it prints out f nicely. What actually happens? Okay, now let me point out. Let me just talk about what I wanted to point out. I am going to store over here, okay, in this char variable, which can only store characters, right? But I'm going to store in the number 65. Okay, and this is why I wanted to mention why there's a very close relationship between characters and numbers. So I'm going to store 65 and compile this, and nothing happened. It worked. When I run this, it shows up the letter A. And that's because, like I said, there's a very close relationship between characters and numbers. When you store a character, okay, or basically when I type in, it said A, right? So basically when I store the character A here in this char variable, what is really happening is when I compile this, what is really happening is the number 65 is what's stored in memory. Now there is this character set called ASCII. There's this ASCII character set. Okay, AS. Let me just point it out here with a comment. ASCII. It stands for American Standard Code for Information Interchange. Okay, and there's another one called Unicode. Okay, and ASCII is basically a character set. Okay, that represents each a character set. Basically, a character set that that is mapped to a number, and so each so ASCII is actually a limited character set, okay, that is all mapped to a number. So each character is actually mapped to a number. So the letter A is mapped to a number. Lowercase a is mapped to a number. Uppercase A is mapped to a number. Unicode is simply a much more extensive character set. It supports the ASCII character set, but even more. It supports even more characters. And so you would see this, are floating around. Just know that they are character sets, American Standard Code for Information Interchange. And it's just basically that it's a character set where each character is actually mapped to a certain number. And so the character A is actually mapped to a number. And anytime you store a character in memory, you are not actually storing the letter A. What you're storing is a certain number. Okay, its ASCII representation is actually stored in memory. And anytime we try to display it, okay, the computer looks at that number and then shows us the character that is matched to that number. And so that's why we can store the letter A in my second char, okay, because we declared it as a char variable, and at the same time we can store it at its number that it's mapped to, which is 65 as an integer, right? You would think that, oh, it should complain, right, because this should only allow characters. It's true, it should complain, but then there's a very close relationship between numbers and characters. And that's why when you store 65, because 65 is really mapped to a certain character, okay, in the character set, it's able to store 65. And when I'm displaying it, it sees 65 and displays the character that is mapped to 65. Okay, when I store the letter, let's say N in memory, it stores its number. Okay, it's still the number that is mapped to N based on the ASCII or Unicode character set. It stores that number in memory, and when I try to print N, when I compile this and I try to print N, it's basically showing me the character that is mapped to that particular number for N. So when I run it, it tells me, I'm sorry, so basically the number is stored in memory, but then when I run it, it's basically showing me the character that is mapped, sorry, that is mapped to the number, and that character is n. But when I store in, let's say, a number, that's what I meant to do. I store in a number, let's say 67, right? Not in quotations, but the number 67. When I can compile it, 67 is stored in memory, but when I try to print out the value of it, it prints to me the character that's mapped to 67 and not to the number 67, because this is a character, right? This is a character. I mean a char variable, So when I run this, it shows me that 67 is C. 67 is stored. The same way when I try to store the character C, sorry, my typing is bad. So basically what is happening is it's storing 67 in memory. And when I try to display it, it's looking at 67 and showing me the character which is mapped to 67, and that character is C. That's exactly what's happening. If you look in the guidance book, which I have here opened, in the appendix B, somewhere in the book you'd find the character set over here. You can see this is the character set, the ASCII Unicode character set. I don't know if I'm allowed to show this or no, but I just wanted you to point it out, right? It shouldn't be too much of a big deal. Just point it out so you can see it. But if you Google ASCII character set, ASCII Unicode character set, you'd find it you should find it on the Java Oracle, documentation for Java. You should find it all over the place on the internet. I'll do my best to point out some links, as many links as possible, so you can see where the table is. But at least you've seen it. You can see that 67 is C over here, okay, and 65 is A. So that's really what's happening. And so I just wanted you to see that close relationship, just so when you encounter it in some way or some form, you understand what it is. All right. If you have any questions, please comment down below, and I'll do everything to respond to them. Thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time with the next video. All right. Bye-bye.